G'day, today we're going to demonstrate how to make up an HEL performance brake hose. We are going to, for the demonstration purposes, show you how to make up a performance hose from a rubber brake hose sample by identifying fittings and using up performance brake hose. Firstly, we need to measure the length of the sample and to the center line of the banjo. In this case, 445 millimeters. We record this length on our test certificate at 445 millimeters, and we then identify our fittings. Performance fittings range is smaller than the rubber brake hose fittings, so we have to pay careful attention to thread pitch, size, and sealing surfaces to find fittings that will accommodate the sample. In this case, we have a female fitting, M10 by 1, and if you look inside, it shows an inverted flare, which we refer to as a double flare. We go to our female section of the fittings, and we can see we've got a HL331, which is an M10 by 1 double flare with an inverted flare, and we have our female fitting. We then select our fitting and we place it down at 0. We then go to our other side fitting, which is a banjo fitting. In this case, it has a hook from the original rubber. We select and measure the inside diameter at 10 millimeters to select the appropriate performance stainless steel banjo. We in this case see it is straight, it does not have any bends, and we can see an HL501 is our banjo of choice. We put, very importantly, our banjo down with the center line at 445 millimeters as per the sample length. We can then see this fitting has an inline fitting as well. This, we can have a look in our catalog for the range of inline fittings, and we can see that the HL2002 is the closest to the sample, and we are going to select this fitting for our inline. We also note the direction of the inline fitting. We can see the groove of the sample is toward the banjo end, and we must ensure that we do the same on our new performance hose. We can now determine the cut length required. What we then do is we take our length of hose and we place behind the insertion point of the insert to the other side, and we can make our mark behind the tail. We can now cut our hose length. We have our designated cutter, which cuts cleanly through our hose, leaving a nice clean surface. True straight cut. We start by always inserting the hose through all accessories needing to go onto the hose, ensuring to be careful not to kink the hose. we press that over. Inline fitting. Ensuring it's facing in the right direction. And our held tag. Now, we are needing to skive the PVC coating off the stainless steel braiding before inserting our collars. And we put on the accessories before doing that so that we don't expose the braid, causing it to flare or fray when putting over the accessories. We can now continue to skive the PVC tubing off the outside at 9 millimeters. At 9 millimeters, if you stray a little with your knife, it still allows for the PVC to tuck under the collar. This is for aesthetics. We proceed to skive both ends. Always cut away from yourself. So we now have exposed stainless steel braiding. We now can proceed to inserting our collars, and we do that with the deeper end of the collar over the one corner, and we tuck the other side in and gently twist and push over onto the hose. We ensure that the Teflon is all the way inside up against the ridge inside the collar. We proceed to do the same on the other side. You will notice the collar is tapered on the inside. This is to accommodate the PVC tucking in underneath the collar, so when crimping, the PVC is underneath the collar. Again, ensuring the Teflon is right up. We then have our awl to be pressed into the Teflon up to the stopper. This is just to open the hose to accommodate the fitting. And we do that on both sides. Now the hose is prepared for receiving the fittings. Again, we just make 100% sure to our sample that the direction of the inline fitting is correct. Banjo on that end, we press it in, and the female fitting we press in. We are now ready to crimp. So, with our TAE109 HEL Performance brake hose crimper, we tighten the valve. We have a hole through the side where the hose can fit through. We hold the collar and we proceed to jack up and we press and pull the hose down so that the collar is underneath the top end surface of the dies. We crimp it just to hold the collar, because very importantly, we need to press the fitting in so that it locates, and the location mark is below the top end of the crimping collar. We can now proceed to crimp. For this purpose, I have a power bar that we have attached extra, and we crimp it so that all the dies are all together, no gaps between the dies. This is at the right crimping specification. I will demonstrate and show you now where and how to measure. These are all critical checks for being ensured of assembling a correct hose. We can, for the female, take an M10x1 fitting and screw it into our female. This is just to assist for us to be able to press the female into the hose. We can now proceed to crimping the other side. Again, through the side hole, close the valve, and again bring the jaws up to the collar, ensuring the collar is below the top surface of the dies. Be careful on a female fitting not to have it too deep, otherwise when you press your fitting in, it's going to top up against the dies and not locate into the collar properly as required. And then again, very importantly, click to locate. We can now proceed to crimp this side. And release. You will notice the full length of the collar has been crimped. There is no ridge on the top end, and the same on the other side. Now we need to do very important checks. We do a visual inspection to ensure the collars haven't cracked. And we note this on our test certificate. Collars cracked? No. Fitting locator mark visible. We check that the fitting locator mark is not visible and is in fact underneath the top end of the collar after crimping, ensuring the fitting has been located correctly. We then mark this. Fitting locator mark visible? No. We then need to check that the crimping dimension is correct. We do this by roughly 5 millimeters up from the hose end of the collar across the flats, and we measure 7.6 millimeters to 7.8 millimeters. We then check the other side. Again, 5 millimeters from the hose end of the collar, and we again check between 7.6 and 7.8 millimeters. In this case, we have got 7.7 millimeters. We record that. To confirm the other end, important measurement, also 7.7 millimeters. We can now confirm that the length of our new performance hose is at the same length as our rubber hose sample, and we now have a performance HEL brake hose. Thank you.